In this video, you're going to learn how to use different types of lines to improve the compositions in your photographs. I'm going to reveal to you the hidden power of lines and how you can use them to improve your images. Hi, my name is Sean Gallagher. I'm a professional photographer and filmmaker. If you're new to my channel, welcome. For the past 20 years, I've been producing images for clients including National Geographic, The Guardian, and the Pulitzer Center. Here on my channel, I want to share with you some of the things that I've learned throughout my career in order to help you improve your photography. Make sure to watch to the end of the video to learn how you can get my feedback on your photos and how you can join my online photography community. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how you can use different types of lines to improve your photographs' compositions. Okay, let's get started with technique number one. Using vertical and horizontal lines is the first step in harnessing the power of lines to improve your compositions. Once you start looking out for them, you'll start to find lines everywhere, and you'll quickly realize that incorporating them into your photos will have dramatic effects on your compositions. Let's look at some examples from my archive to give you some ideas. In this scene from during a sandstorm in northern China, I spotted the lines of this bridge which spanned a river I was crossing. I knew instantly that the lines created by the wires would help make a compelling scene. Similarly, when I made this image of a seaweed fisherman, the bird's eye view provided by my drone revealed the lines created by the arrangement of the farm. The single line created by a wave crashing towards a beach in this image provided the opportunity for a really interesting composition. If you look carefully, you can see a young boy surfing the wave. The single strong line created by the wave is really compelling and gives real form to the image. Horizontal and vertical lines can be used for equal effect to create compelling compositions. As a photojournalist, I like to use them as a tool to make more dynamic and interesting compositions that draw my viewer towards the subject matter I am photographing. As you'll have seen from some of my images, I really enjoy using vertical and horizontal lines, and if you combine that with focusing on a main subject matter, you can make really interesting images. By composing your scene with a diagonal line running from corner to corner, it can easily transform what might normally be a somewhat boring or plain scene into something much more interesting. You can find diagonal lines in all kinds of scenes, from landscape shots to detail shots. So when you're out photographing, pay close attention to where the diagonals are and how you can use them. Let's have a look at a few of my shots and how I've used diagonals in my photographs. By tilting the camera slightly in this scene, I was able to use the diagonal lines of the road to create this dynamic effect which gives a sense of motion to the man during his pilgrimage to Tibet. As I was flying my drone over the aftermath of a forest fire in Cambodia, I saw this lone tree lying across a path. I composed the path to run from corner to corner, which also resulted in the tree running at a diagonal too in the opposite direction. This mirroring of angles creates a compelling dynamic in the photo. Look for how diagonals appear in all different places, like here in the ribcage of an emaciated cow which I photographed during a story about drought in India. In this landscape, the simple act of framing the border between the mountains and desert so they fall at a diagonal across the frame makes the image immediately more interesting. By playing with diagonals, you can find many more ways in which to make compelling and interesting compositions in your photographs. Don't be afraid to experiment and look out for diagonals, whether they appear in large landscapes or in smaller details. When you start playing with diagonals, look at how your images are immediately transformed and suddenly become more dynamic and interesting for your viewer. Once you have started to master the use of horizontal, vertical, and diagonal lines, then you can start to think about how you use lines to draw your viewer's attention into a scene. Leading lines are a great way to do this, as they draw your viewer's attention into the photograph towards something you want them to see. In this image taken during a sandstorm in Beijing, you can see that I got very low and placed the camera next to the train tracks to use the track lines as leading lines. This framing draws your eyes from the foreground all the way to the background and the woman carrying her bike. When you use leading lines, the eye naturally follows the path of the lines you capture in the frame, like in this image of a path on a mountain. Often this technique is used to draw your viewer's attention to something in the distance, like in this image I made in Jakarta of a man jumping over a small channel. Leading lines can be used in obvious ways or more subtle ways. In this image I made in China of farmers in a field, the leading lines subtly take your eyes from the workers in the foreground to the juxtaposed power plant in the background. When you're next out taking photographs, look out for things like rivers, streams, paths, bridges, as these are great ways in which you can incorporate leading lines into your photographs. Don't forget your viewer though and where you want to lead them. Remember to have that interesting subject matter somewhere in the photograph that you want to lead your viewer's attention to with those leading lines. Another simple composition technique that can be used when you're playing with lines in your compositions is to look out for the patterns that are created by those lines. The human eye loves patterns, so think about how you can use multiple lines within a scene to create patterns that draw your viewer's attention and create images that are more compelling. In this image, you can see I was able to use multiple different types of lines to create an interesting composition. There are the lines on the floor leading you to the man. There are the lines running horizontally. They all combine to create patterns that fill the frame. Something as simple as shooting through a fence can make for a more interesting composition. I use the lines here in the fence and their natural patterns to make a more dynamic photo. Patterns are everywhere and are revealed especially when you change your perspective. Like in this drone shot of a farm in Cambodia. You can clearly see how I use lines and patterns to create the compelling composition. Whether you are inside or outside, patterns created by lines can be a really powerful way in which you can make interesting photos. I personally like to use multiple lines and patterns within my photographs because I feel that they create much more compelling and interesting images. And creating interesting images for the viewer to look at is the first step to get them to care about the subject matter within your photographs and the issues and stories you're trying to tell. As ever, if you really want to make your photographs unique, you've got to move beyond the normal, standard way of using lines and start to get creative with how you incorporate lines into your photographs. Lines appear all around us, so when you're next out taking photographs, you have to be aware of them, but go beyond the normal and try to get creative with how you use lines and how you incorporate them into your images. In this image, for example, that I took in Jakarta, I was walking around a community when I noticed this amazing collection of pipes. All of the jumbled lines in this image make for a messy but intriguing pattern of lines. Looking down on a woodyard in Cambodia, I could see the lines of the timber through the live feed when using my drone. There are two types of lines here. The lines of the individual pieces of wood, but also the lines of wood across the frame. Lines don't always have to be perfectly straight, like in this photo of a burnt-out forest. The messy, bent lines of the tree trunks and branches make for a compelling pattern and composition in themselves. Here, leather belts lie on a seller's stand in a town in India. They almost point your eye towards the boy walking in the background of the image. So get creative with your lines. Go beyond the ordinary and the obvious. Look at how you can combine different types of lines in different patterns to create more interesting and compelling compositions. Using lines in different ways is a great way to make your images more impactful and dynamic. But remember, they can also be used with purpose to draw your viewer's attention to something specific you want them to see within the frame to help you tell a deeper story. If you've made it this far in the video, I'd like to invite you to join my private online communities. I have one on WhatsApp and one on WeChat, and within these group, members share their photos for feedback from me and from other group members. To join the groups, all you need to do is download my new ebook, The Camera Doesn't Matter, and at the end of the ebook there are QR codes that you can scan to join the community. If you really want to improve your photography fast, consider joining my mentorship program. This is for serious amateur photographers and aspiring professionals, and I help each of them through one-on-one video calls each month and community webinars, which you will get exclusive access to. To learn more about the program, all you need to do is click the link in the description below. Thanks for watching today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and consider sharing it with a friend. I'll see you in the next video.